Trace here. Today I'll be making my last fun fold card for the Made It Design Team Challenge, and that runs for the whole month. So this is the last one in the series, and this one is a double diamond fold, and I do admit that it's a little tricky. So I will go over step by step on how to create it, and I am going to decorate it and embellish it with y'all, but this is the actual card base and the folds that you see here. So we will definitely take our time and go over every step. So what I'm going to use for this one is the paper from Lakeside, and that's from Photoplay, and these are 12 by 12 sheets. And for the stamp sets, I am going to use the Made It stamp sets, that the Thankful Thoughts, and I will use this sentiment here. And this one is Blessings. I'm going to use a couple of different ones there. And this is Owlton and Olivia, and I just love these owls. We're going to use those for sure. So let's get started. We're going to start off with a sheet of 12 by 12 solid color, and this measures 7 by 12. So we're going to start off with some scoring. So grab your scoreboard, make sure I get it so you can see. You're going to put it in the long side. Now you're going to score it in 4 different places. So you're going to start at 3 inches. So make a nice score, and I go over it 2 times. And the next one is at 4.5. And the next is 7.5. And lastly is 9. Then, with it still in your scoreboard, you're going to take a pencil and you're going to make several different notches. So you're going to make a notch at 1.5, right at the top. And you're also going to make a notch at 10.5. And rotate it completely around and do the same thing, 1.5, 10.5, now you're going to put it back in the scoreboard, and you're going to put it on the short side. Then you're going to make notches at 3.5. And then you're going to rotate it completely around. Again, 3.5. So it should look like this here, with your score lines here and all of your notches. Next, with your trimmer, we're going to do some scoring and some cutting. So I like to do difficult scoring that you need an angle for. I use my trimmer cut line. I just think that it's a whole lot easier for me, and it may be for you as well. So what we're going to do on both ends, we're going to take the notch here at the center and the notch on the side, and we're going to line those up in your trimmer, right on the line, the cutting line. Then we're going to go ahead and cut that off. And on the other side. So it looks like that there. Then you're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite end. Next, we're going to make some diagonal score lines. And so what we're going to do, your angle score lines will go from this corner till this score line here, and from this corner across to that score line there. So here and here. Then you're going to turn it and do the same thing on the other side. So what you're going to do is put it in your trimmer there at the notch, and your score line, the most inner score line here. So from here to there. Then I like to score right there in the cutting groove. Next, make another diagonal score line from this corner to this score line. So it should look like that. Now go ahead and turn it and do the exact same thing on this end. Now just crease all of your score lines. Make them nice and crisp. I like to turn it. And we are also going to crease the diagonal lines. So fold it diagonally and crease those. So do that with all of them. And once you have completed creasing those, just put that aside and we're going to work on the panels. So the way that this folds in is these triangles here, 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 and here all fold backwards or inwards. So they go in like that. And once you fold them, it'll want to naturally go that way. But sometimes it needs a little help. So that's how they fold in like that. So once you get that folded, go ahead and crease that really well, because that's your main fold here. So backwards these go and in. So that is the double diamond fold. So what we're going to do with that and decorate those panels is we're going to need 6 panels altogether, and these measure 2 3/4 by 6 3/4. And you can mix and match the patterns, or you can use them all the same. So we're looking at a panel for the very center, and here, and these triangles here, these long triangles, and then these and these. So once you have all of those cut, I also cut some additional panels for the very ends, and I'm going to be stamping some images on these 2 ends here. So I wanted an additional panel, and this measures 2 1/4 by 6 1/4. So those will go at the end, and that'll go on top of these here, and that will look really nicely. So go ahead and get all of your panels ready, because we're going to do a little bit of fancy cutting. So the very center panel, you don't have to do any additional cutting, so it is already ready to go. So that will go into place there. Then next I'm going to work on these on the outside here. So I'm going to use one of these here. Okay, so we're going to use a pencil. We're going to need some notches. So you're going to measure on the long side at 3 3/8. And I know it's getting into some difficult measurements, And we're going to do it several different times, so it won't be too bad because you'll know those actual measurements. So 3 3/8 to 3/8, you're going to put a notch, and you're going to turn it around, and the same notch, same measurement, 3/8. So you're going to do that with 3 of the panels. So I'm going to go ahead and go get those done. Since I have that measurement in my head, I'll go ahead and do all of those at once. Okay, once those are notched, then you're going to turn it over on the short side, and you're going to put a notch at 1 3/8. You want to put a notch at both ends, and do that with all 3 of the pieces. Next, you're going to take in your trimmer and put the notch here on the cut line and this one that's on the end. So the side one and the end one are going to go in your cutter, and you're going to make a slice, looks like that, and do it on the exact same thing on the other side. So it looks like that, and do the opposite end the exact same way. So now it looks like a pretty large diamond shape. And definitely don't throw these scraps away, because you can use these for small little punches like butterflies or any kind of shape, or flower punches. So you could definitely punch a couple of flowers out of this scrap before you finally throw it away. So save those. And so you're going to do this exact same thing for the other 2 that you have left. Now be sure to erase any pencil marks that you have that's showing. You definitely don't want those showing. So these are the panels that go right here on the ends. Now we're going to work on this one here, which is the 3rd one. All you need to do for that is place it in your trimmer line from the very end peak to the very end peak. So just like that. And it's a little tricky to keep it still. And then just go ahead and cut down right through the middle. And I will show you where that goes. That goes right here in this place here. Before we move on to the smaller triangles here, I do want to go over real quickly how to do the additional panel on the ends. And that's the one that I'm going to actually stamp down an image on here. So that's a little bit of a different measurement. And so I notched it in the 2 different places, same method as we did before, just these notches are at 1 1/8 and 3 1/8. So you put your notches and then you cut your angles in the exact same way, and that will be your outside panel. And like I said, that will be just for my stamped image. So you don't have to do that, that's just an addition. So we're getting there. I know it's a lot, and all of these measurements and materials and supplies will be listed in my blog. So you won't have to write them down or anything like that, or try to remember it, but it will be written down for you. So next we're going to move on to the smaller triangles. So we have these 2 panels left here, and we need to turn these 2 panels into 8 pieces. And so we're going to start with 1, and we're going to cut that right in half. And that measurement for the half is 3 3/8. So now we have 4 pieces, and the first thing you need to do is make a notch, and that will be at 1 3/8. So I use my ruler to go ahead and do this instead of my trimmer. And if it's easier for you to do that the entire time with a ruler instead, or your trimmer, I just kind of go back and forth. With these small little pieces, I feel a ruler is a little easier. So go ahead and put a notch on the 1 3/8 for every one of them. So that will be the shorter side here. So all of those have the notch. Then you want to go ahead and place that notch on the cutting line and the edge here. This corner right here. So here to here is where you're going to cut. And you basically know the drill as far as this goes. So then you want to take this notch in this corner here. So now you have made a triangle, and go ahead and do that with all the others. And then you're basically almost finished. All you need to do is cut this in half from this outer peak to the very center. And it's easiest to bump that right into the groove in your trimmer to keep that nice and straight. So you want to make sure that tip is right here and it's nice and straight, and that it doesn't move on you. Then you want to go ahead and slice. So now you have these 2 pieces. So you want to go ahead and do that with all the rest, and so then you will end up with 8 pieces, and they will go nicely right into place in these areas. So I'll be right back. So all the cutting is good and ready. And is everyone with me still? There's a lot of cutting involved in measuring, but this is an amazing card to create. Now, also, a little tip: when I cut these triangles in half, I keep those 2 together, because especially if there's a pattern going on, then the pattern stays together. For instance, this acorn here is cut in half, and they'll stay together nicely, and that will look really cool. So all the next thing to do is to put it all together. I'm going to put these aside because I am going to stamp images onto those, but I'm going to glue everything else into place and be right back. So I stamped and colored my images and went ahead and glued those down to the fronts here. And I do have a tip: as you're going along adding the panels and things, make sure you use a liquid glue, and also make sure that the edges, the very peaks, have glue on them. So you want those very edges to stay nice and glued down. So, and I also added some orange matte to my images towards the back to enhance the little bit of orange that I have in the paper here. So the very last thing that I'm going to do is to add my little give thanks. And I'm going to put it right here. I have a foam square on the back. I figured I'd pop that up just a little bit. And so that looks really good right about there. And so that will finish off this card. And it's really, really nice standing up. I know you can't really see on camera, but it really looks so nice standing up. Or you can also flatten it and mail it, and you can also add a belly band or a ribbon or anything to hold it into place here. And so it's really fun. I hope you give this a try, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.